The security guard barely glanced at my fake cleaning service badge as I slipped into my father's funeral. Dark glasses and a borrowed maintenance uniform completed my disguise. A far cry from the tailored suits I usually wore as the newly appointed CEO of King Industries. My name is Quinn, and I wasn't supposed to be here today. Did you hear? A whisper caught my attention as I pretended to dust a nearby windowsill. Richard left everything to her. The youngest. Can you believe it? Shh, Kiara will hear you. I kept my head down, moving methodically through the funeral home as mourners filed in. My Aunt Kiara stood at the entrance, her designer black dress a stark contrast to my gray coveralls. She greeted each guest with practiced sympathy, while my siblings Bryce and Tessa flanked her like well-trained soldiers. The nerve of her, Bryce muttered to Tessa. Not even showing up to Dad's funeral. If only they knew I'd received their official notification banning me from attending barely 12 hours ago. The message came through Ibrahim, our family lawyer, his voice dripping with false regret. The family thinks it's best if you keep your distance during this difficult time. I continued my careful circuit around the room, dusting surfaces that didn't need dusting. The front row of chairs remained empty, reserved for immediate family. My chair should have been there, between Tessa and Presley. You should be grateful he gave you anything at all. The voice behind me was barely a whisper, but I recognized Ibrahim immediately. He'd cornered me near the flower arrangements, speaking low enough that only I could hear. Some might say you don't deserve even that much. I turned slowly, keeping my face downturned. Funny, coming from someone who helped my father build his empire from nothing. Things change, Quinn. People change. He adjusted his tie, a nervous tell I'd noticed over years of board meetings. Your father made a mistake. We're simply trying to correct it. By banning me from his funeral? By protecting the company's interests. He glanced around before continuing. Walk away now. Take a generous settlement before things get complicated. I smiled, though he couldn't see it behind my mask. You should check your email more often, Ibrahim. His face paled slightly. What do you mean? Let's just say Dad left me more than just the company. I moved past him, deliberately bumping his shoulder. He left me the truth. The service began, and I watched from the back as my family took their seats. Tessa kept glancing at my empty chair, worry creasing her forehead. She'd always been the sensitive one, caught between loyalty to our older brother and her love for me. Bryce stood to deliver the eulogy, his voice carrying across the hushed room. Our father was a visionary, a man who built an empire from nothing. He understood the importance of tradition, of keeping business in the family. His eyes flickered to my empty seat. Though some of his final decisions may have been questionable, we will honor his memory by protecting his legacy. I gripped my dusting cloth tighter, knuckles white beneath the thin fabric. If they only knew what I'd discovered in Dad's private files, the offshore accounts, the falsified records, the years of systematic theft orchestrated by the very people now mourning him so convincingly. Benjamin, Dad's oldest friend and board member, caught my eye from his seat near the back. A slight nod confirmed what we'd discussed earlier. Everything was in place. Tomorrow's board meeting would change everything. As the service concluded, Sierra approached the casket one last time. Oh, Richard, she said loudly enough for nearby mourners to hear. I promise we'll take care of everything. The company will stay in the right hands. I waited until the room had nearly emptied before approaching the casket myself. Pulling off my dark glasses, I looked down at my father's peaceful face. Don't worry, Dad, I whispered. I won't let them destroy everything you built. They think they've won, but they don't know about the evidence yet. They don't know what's coming. Miss? The security guard's voice startled me. We're closing up now, I nodded, replacing my glasses. As I turned to leave, I caught sight of Ibrahim watching me from the doorway, his phone pressed to his ear. Let him call whoever he wanted. By this time tomorrow, every secret, every lie, every betrayal would be exposed. The autumn air hit my face as I stepped outside, and I finally allowed myself a small smile. They thought banning me from Dad's funeral would break me. Instead, it had only strengthened my resolve. I had the evidence. I had the truth. And most importantly, I had nothing left to lose. Tomorrow, they would learn exactly why Dad had chosen me to lead his company. Tomorrow, they would understand that their biggest mistake wasn't just betraying him, it was underestimating me. The security code to Dad's private office hadn't changed. 0913. My birthday. My heels clicked against the marble floor as I entered, the familiar scent of leather and sandalwood washing over me. Even at midnight, the city lights streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows illuminated the space perfectly. "You shouldn't be here." Benjamin's voice crackled through my earpiece. "If anyone catches you—" "They won't," I interrupted, making my way to Dad's desk. "Besides, the board meeting's in 8 hours. We need what's in that safe." I ran my fingers along the bottom drawer's edge, finding the hidden latch just where Dad had shown me years ago. The panel popped open, revealing a keypad and fingerprint scanner. "Your father was nothing if not thorough," Benjamin commented. He knew they'd try something like this. I pressed my thumb to the scanner, holding my breath. A soft click, and the safe door swung open. Inside, I found exactly what Dad promised would be waiting: a leather-bound ledger and a USB drive. But something else caught my eye. A sealed envelope with my name written in Dad's distinctive scrawl. My phone buzzed. Tessa's name flashed across the screen. "Quinn?" Her voice trembled. "Are you really going through with tomorrow?" "You know I am." I tucked the ledger and drive into my bag. "You could still stand with me, Tess. Bryce says he has proof Dad wasn't mentally competent when he changed the will. He's going to present it at the meeting." I laughed softly. "Let me guess. Ibrahim helped him get it?" "Quinn, please." She paused. "Just take the settlement they're offering. The company isn't worth losing your family over." They stopped being family the moment they banned me from Dad's funeral. I opened the envelope, pulling out a single sheet of paper. "I have to go." "Wait." I ended the call, focusing on Dad's letter. As I read, my hands began to shake. "My dearest Quinn, if you're reading this, they've already moved against you. The ledger contains everything, every transaction, every secret account. But the real proof is in the encrypted files on the drive. The password is Phoenix Rising, your childhood nickname. Be careful who you trust. Even Ibrahim." The office door clicked. I shoved the letter into my bag and ducked behind a filing cabinet just as voices filled the room. "Search everything," Shara commanded. That little brat must have found something, or she wouldn't be so confident about tomorrow's meeting. "The safe," Bryce's voice. "We need to check the safe." I held my breath as footsteps approached the desk. The hidden panel clicked open. "It's empty," Bryce growled. "She's already been here." "Impossible," Ibrahim cut in. "The security logs show no entry tonight." I smiled, grateful for Benjamin's help in looping the security footage. "Then where is it?" Kiara's voice rose. "Where's the evidence she keeps threatening us with?" "Maybe there isn't any," Presley suggested. "Maybe she's bluffing." "No," Ibrahim said quietly. "Richard was too smart. He would have left something." "Then find it," Ciara snapped. "We've worked too hard, planned too carefully to let that girl ruin everything. Do you know how many years we spent building those offshore accounts? How many strings I had to pull to keep the auditors away?" My phone chose that moment to vibrate loudly against the filing cabinet. The room fell silent. "What was that?" Bryce demanded. I didn't wait. Clutching my bag, I burst from my hiding spot and ran for the door. Bryce lunged for me, but I was faster. My elbow connected with his solar plexus, sending him stumbling backward. "Stop her," Kiara screamed. I sprinted down the hallway toward the emergency stairs, their footsteps thundering behind me. Pushing through the stairwell door, I took the steps 2 at a time, my heart pounding in sync with my feet. "Quinn!" Ibrahim's voice echoed above me. "Think about what you're doing." 3 floors down, I crashed through the exit into the parking garage. Benjamin's car idled exactly where we'd planned, engine running. "Go." I jumped into the passenger seat as shouts echoed across the garage. Benjamin floored it, tires squealing as we shot toward the exit. In the rearview mirror, I watched Bryce and Ibrahim grow smaller. their figures illuminated by harsh fluorescent lights. Chiara's words rang in my ears. "We've worked too hard." "Did you get everything?" Benjamin asked once we were safely away. I patted my bag, feeling the hard edges of the ledger and drive. "Everything and more. They were there, Benjamin. I heard them admit to all of it. The offshore accounts, the covered-up audits, everything." "Good." He glanced at me. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" I pulled out my phone, quickly typing out a message to Tessa. "You wanted proof our family isn't what it seems? Come to my office at 7 a.m., bring a recorder." "I'm ready," I said, watching the city lights blur past. It's time they learned what happens when you underestimate the Phoenix. 7 a.m. sharp, just like I asked. I looked up from Dad's ledger as Tessa slipped into my office, her designer heels silent on the plush carpet. "Did you bring the recorder?" She pulled a small device from her purse, placing it on my desk with trembling fingers. "Quinn, what's going on? Bryce came home last night looking like he'd seen a ghost. Listen." I pressed play on my phone, and Chiara's voice filled the room. "Do you know how many years we spent building those offshore accounts? How many strings I had to pull to keep the auditors away?" Tessa sank into the chair across from me, her face draining of color. How did you get this?" "Last night. They were looking for these." I pushed the ledger and USB drive across the desk. "Dad left them for me. Every transaction, every secret account, it's all here. Ms. King?" My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Ibrahim is here to see you." "Perfect timing." I straightened my blazer. "Send him in." Ibrahim strode in, his usual confidence faltering slightly when he saw Tessa. "This is a private matter." "Stay," I told Tessa, who had half risen from her chair. "You'll want to hear this." Ibrahim's jaw tightened. "Quinn, be reasonable. The board meeting is in an hour. Take the settlement offer. $20 million, no questions asked. Walk away from this." "Like you walked away from Dad?" I opened the ledger. "Tell me, Ibrahim, does the board know about the shell company in Grand Cayman? The one you and Ciara used to funnel nearly $40 million over the past 3 years?" His face remained impassive, but a bead of sweat traced down his temple. "Those are serious accusations." "They're not accusations." I turned the ledger around. "They're facts. Dad kept meticulous records. He knew what you were doing. All of you." "Quinn," Tessa whispered. "Is this true?" Before Ibrahim could respond, the door burst open. Presley rushed in, his usually perfect hair disheveled. "Quinn, stop this. Please." "Why?" I stood slowly. "Because you're involved too? Because Aunt Kiara promised you a piece of the pie if you helped them push me out? You don't understand." Presley ran a hand through his hair. "She has dirt on everyone. She's been planning this for years, gathering information, waiting for the right moment." Ibrahim shot him a warning look. "Presley, that's enough." "No." Presley's voice cracked. "I'm done lying. Quinn, Ciara, she's the one who convinced your father to change his medication dosage. She said it would help him sleep, but—" "Shut up." Ibrahim grabbed Presley's arm. My blood ran cold. "What did you just say?" Tessa's recorder clicked softly in the silence. "The board meeting starts in 45 minutes, Ibrahim said quietly. "Think carefully about your next move, Quinn. Some doors can't be unopened. Get out." My voice was steel. "Both of you." After they left, Tessa played back the recording, her hands shaking. "Quinn, if what Presley said is true, about Dad's medication—" "I know." I checked my watch. "The question is, whose side are you on?" She stood, smoothing her skirt. "Bryce, he doesn't know about any of this. He really believes Dad wasn't thinking clearly when he changed the will, and now you know why he thought that." I gathered the evidence into my briefcase. "Are you with me?" Tessa's phone buzzed. A text from Kiara. She showed me the screen. "Make sure she takes the deal. Remember what we discussed." "What did you discuss?" I asked quietly. She promised to fund my fashion line. Tessa's voice was barely audible. Said she'd invest $5 million if I helped convince you to step down. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. At least now we know your price. Quinn, the board meeting starts in 30 minutes. I headed for the door. Make your choice, Tessa. But remember, once I walk into that room, there's no going back. Wait. She grabbed my arm. There's something else you need to know. Bryce, he found Dad's original will. The one from before. He's planning to present it at the meeting. Let him. I pulled away. The only thing that will prove is how desperate they've become. As I walked toward the boardroom, Benjamin fell into step beside me. Everything ready? Almost. I handed him a USB drive, a copy of Dad's files. If anything happens to me in there, it won't. He pocketed the drive. But I'll be ready. We reached the boardroom doors. Through the glass, I could see them all. Ciara at the head of the table, Ibrahim whispering in her ear, Bryce clutching a folder I assumed contained the old will. Presley sat alone at the far end, staring at his hands. Ready? Benjamin asked. I thought of Dad's letter. Be careful who you trust. But he'd also called me Phoenix Rising, named for my ability to emerge stronger from every setback. Ready. I pushed open the doors, stepping into the lion's den with my head held high. Let them bring their forged wills and empty threats. I had the truth. And the truth was about to set this whole house of cards on fire. The boardroom fell silent as I took my seat at the table. 12 pairs of eyes watched my every move. Board members who'd known me since childhood, now sizing me up like vultures circling prey. Before we begin, Ciara stood, smoothing her silk blouse. I believe Bryce has something to present. Actually, I cut in, I'd like to start with a story. I connected my laptop to the projector. A story about family, trust, and $40 million in missing company funds. Ibrahim's pen clattered to the floor. Miss King, there are proper channels. Like the channels you use to funnel money through shell companies? I clicked to the first slide, a detailed transaction history. Or perhaps we should discuss the creative accounting that kept these transfers hidden from our auditors? These accusations are ridiculous, Ciara snapped, but her face had lost its color. The boardroom door opened and Tessa slipped in, taking the empty seat beside me. Chiara's eyes narrowed at the recorder in her hand. Bryce, I turned to my brother. You wanted to present something? The original will, perhaps? He straightened, pulling documents from his folder. Yes, a will that proves Dad wasn't in his right mind when he what? I interrupted. When he discovered that his own sister was slowly poisoning him with altered medication? The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Bryce's papers slipped from his fingers, scattering across the table. That's absurd. Ciara stood so quickly her chair toppled backward. You can't prove... I pressed play on my phone. Presley's recorded voice filled the room. Chiara's the one who convinced your father to change his medication dosage. Presley, Ibrahim warned, but the damage was done. Oh, I have more. I clicked through slides of bank statements, offshore accounts, and damning emails. 5 years of systematic theft, all orchestrated by the people who claimed to love Dad most. You ungrateful little... Ciara lunged forward, but Benjamin blocked her path. Ms. King, one of the senior board members spoke up. These are serious allegations. Do you have concrete proof? I placed Dad's ledger on the table. Every transaction, every account, every conspiracy, documented in Dad's own handwriting. He knew what they were doing. He was gathering evidence before they... I swallowed hard. Before they killed him. This is outrageous. Ibrahim stood. You can't possibly believe... Sit down, Ibrahim. Tessa's voice cut through the chaos. She placed her recorder on the table. I think the board should hear what you said in Quinn's office this morning. Bryce looked between us, confusion etched on his face. Tessa, what are you doing? The right thing, finally. She pressed play, and Ibrahim's threatening voice filled the room. The board members exchanged glances. One reached for his phone, presumably to call security or the police. Wait. Presley stood, his voice shaking. There's more. I helped them. Ciara promised me shares in the company if I... He couldn't finish. If you helped them kill our father? I supplied, my voice ice cold. No. He looked desperate. I didn't know about the medication. I just helped with the accounts. Please, I can prove it. I kept records of everything. Ciara laughed, a sharp, dangerous sound. You really think you've won, don't you, Quinn? That Daddy's little girl has outsmarted us all? She pulled an envelope from her bag. But you forgot one thing. I know about Tokyo. My heart stopped. You're bluffing. Am I? She slid the envelope across the table. 3 years ago, you made a mistake. A big one. One that could ruin not just you, but this entire company. I stared at the envelope, my throat dry. The Tokyo incident had been buried, or so I thought. Take the deal, Quinn. Kara smiled. Walk away with your $20 million. Or I release these documents and everything, including Dad's precious legacy, burns. The room held its breath. I could feel Tessa's questioning gaze, see Bryce's confused expression. Even Benjamin looked uncertain. Slowly, I reached for the envelope. That's right, Kira purred. Be smart, like your father never was. I opened the envelope, pulled out the contents, and smiled. These are fake. What? Kiara's smile faltered. I said, these are fake. I held up the documents. Because I'm the one who handled the Tokyo incident. These documents are printed on paper we didn't start using until last year. Amateur mistake, really. The color drained from Ciara's face as I stood. You know what your biggest mistake was? I looked around the table, thinking I was just Daddy's little girl. But Dad didn't choose me because I was his favorite. He chose me because I was the only one smart enough to see through all of you. Security guards appeared at the doorway, summoned by the board member's earlier call. Mr. Ibrahim, one of them said, please come with us. The police would like to ask you some questions. As they led Ibrahim and Ciara away, I caught Bryce's eye. The original will you were going to show? Dad's signature was forged. Check the date. He was in the hospital that day. I have proof of that too. The board members huddled together, whispering urgently. But I already knew I'd won. Dad had taught me well. In business, like in chess, you don't just play the game, you play the players. The police want to interview you again. Benjamin handed me a coffee as I stared out my office window at the city below. 3 days had passed since the board meeting, and the fallout was still spreading like ripples in a pond. Let them wait. I turned as Tessa entered, her eyes red-rimmed. How's Bryce? They're holding him for questioning. She collapsed onto the leather sofa. He keeps saying he didn't know about Dad's medication, about any of it. Do you believe him? I don't know what to believe anymore. She pulled out her phone, showing me the headlines. King Industries scandal, family empire rocked by fraud allegations. A knock interrupted us. Presley stood in the doorway, looking like he hadn't slept in days. They're releasing Ciara on bail. Already? Benjamin straightened. That's not possible. She has connections. Presley stepped inside, closing the door. And she's angry, Quinn. I just got this. He held up his phone, displaying a text. Tell my dear niece to watch her back. The game isn't over. I laughed softly. She still thinks this is a game. Quinn? Tessa's voice was urgent. What if she really does have something on you? The Tokyo incident is handled. I opened my desk drawer, pulling out a thick file. Everything that happened in Tokyo is in here. Every decision, every document, every signature, all legitimate. I kept it clean specifically because I knew someone might try to use it against me someday. But then why did she? Because she was desperate. I sat behind my desk. And desperate people make mistakes. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Meeting. Tonight. The cemetery. Come alone or the real Tokyo files go public. She's bluffing. Benjamin said, reading over my shoulder. Probably. I stood gathering my coat, but I'm done hiding. Quinn, no. Tessa grabbed my arm. It's too dangerous. Let the police handle it. The police can't protect the company's reputation. I checked my watch. Besides, I have a few surprises left. Then I'm coming with you. Presley stepped forward. I owe you that much. No. I touched his shoulder. You've done enough by testifying. Stay here with Tessa. Benjamin, I need you to get those documents to the DA's office. Quinn? Benjamin started. Trust me. I smiled. Dad didn't call me Phoenix Rising for nothing. The cemetery was silent as I walked between the graves, my heels sinking slightly into the damp earth. Dad's fresh headstone gleamed in the moonlight, and beside it stood Shara, looking perfectly composed despite her recent jail stay. I didn't think you'd come alone, she called out. Disappointed? Impressed, actually. She pulled out an envelope. Maybe you're not as soft as I thought. The Tokyo files are fake, Ciara. We both know that. Do we? She smiled. Did you really think your father only kept records in that little ledger of his? That he didn't have other hiding places? Other secrets? A twig snapped behind me. I turned to see Ibrahim emerging from the shadows, looking considerably less polished than usual. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. Both of you. The only mistake, a new voice rang out, was thinking you could get away with this. Bryce stepped into view, followed by 2 police officers. My brother's face was haggard, but his eyes were clear. What is this? Ciara demanded. Justice. Bryce moved to stand beside me. They showed me everything, Aunt Ciara. The real records, the medication logs, the security footage from Dad's house the night he died. You're choosing her? Ciara spat. After everything I did for you? You mean after you manipulated me? Bryce's voice cracked. Used me to try to steal my sister's inheritance? Made me think Dad had lost his mind? Ibrahim moved suddenly, reaching into his jacket. The police officers drew their weapons, but he only pulled out a USB drive. It's over, he said, tossing it to me. Everything's on there. Dates, accounts, recordings. Ciara's original plans, all of it. Ibrahim, Ciara shrieked. You traitor. No. He looked at her sadly. I'm just tired of the lies. As the officers moved in with handcuffs, I picked up the envelope Ciara had dropped. Inside were photos, not from Tokyo, but of Dad in his final days, looking frail and confused. She'd been documenting the effects of the tampered medication. Quinn? Bryce touched my shoulder. I'm sorry, I should have seen it sooner. We all should have. I watched as the police led Ciara and Ibrahim away. But Dad knew. That's why he left everything to me. He knew I'd find the truth. What happens now? I looked at Dad's headstone, remembering his words. A phoenix always rises from the ashes, stronger than before. Now? I turned to my brother. Now we rebuild. Together. The cemetery fell quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. Like peace. Like justice. Like a new beginning. The board is getting restless. Benjamin dropped a stack of newspapers on my desk. Each headline screamed about the King Industries scandal, our stock price, the pending criminal charges. Let them squirm. I clicked through my emails, pausing at one from the district attorney. Ciara's refusing to cooperate. Says she'll only speak to me. Don't even think about it, Tessa called from the doorway. She entered, followed by Bryce and Presley. She's trying to manipulate you again. Maybe. I stood, straightening my blazer. But I want to hear what she has to say. Quinn, Bryce stepped forward. You don't owe her anything. This isn't about owing. I gathered my things. It's about ending this, once and for all. The detention center's visiting room was cold and sterile. Ciara sat across the table, her designer outfit replaced by a standard-issue jumpsuit. Still, she managed to look elegant, her spine straight as steel. I knew you'd come. She smiled. Always the dutiful niece. Save it. I placed Dad's ledger on the table. You wanted to talk, so talk. Did you ever wonder why your father chose you? She leaned forward. Not Bryce, not Tessa. You. Because I wasn't corrupt? She laughed, a hollow sound. Because you're exactly like him. Ruthless, calculating, willing to sacrifice anything for power. I'm nothing like you. No? She raised an eyebrow. Then why did you really go to Tokyo 3 years ago? The truth, Quinn. Not the sanitized version in your precious files. My blood ran cold. How do you know about the real deal? She smirked. Your father told me, right before I started adjusting his medication. The door burst open. Bryce stormed in, followed by security guards. That's enough. Oh, look. Ciara's eyes gleamed. The prodigal son returns. Did you tell him, Quinn? About what really happened in Tokyo? Shut up, I snapped. She went to close a deal, Bryce said. Everyone knows that. She went to bury one. Ciara's voice dripped venom. A deal that would have bankrupted us if it had gone public. Your perfect sister covered up a massive fraud to save the company, just like Daddy taught her. The guards moved to remove her, but Bryce held up his hand. Is it true? I met his gaze. The company was going to fall. Dad was already sick. I did what I had to do. By breaking the law? By protecting our legacy. I stood so quickly my chair toppled. Everything I did for this family. Just like me. Ciara smiled. We're not so different after all. The difference, I leaned across the table, is that I never killed anyone. Her smile faltered. Neither did I. Your father's death was unfortunate, but necessary. Get her out of here, Bryce told the guards. As they led Chiara away, she called over her shoulder. Ask her about the missing files, Bryce. Ask her what else she's hiding. In the hallway, Bryce grabbed my arm. Tell me she's lying. About Tokyo? No. I pulled away. But everything I did was legal. Barely, but legal. And the missing files she mentioned? Don't exist. I started walking. She's trying to drive a wedge between us. Again. Quinn. His voice stopped me. I need to know. Everything Dad taught you? Everything you learned? Are you really any different from them? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Benjamin's voice was urgent. The board called an emergency meeting. They're voting to remove you as CEO. What? They can't. They can if they have proof of misconduct. Someone sent them files about Tokyo. My heart stopped. When? Meeting starts in 30 minutes. I looked at Bryce, whose face had hardened. Did you know about this? The board approached me this morning. He wouldn't meet my eyes. They want me to take over. And you're considering it. You lied to me, Quinn. About Tokyo, about everything. I protected our company. My voice echoed in the empty hallway. Everything I did, every secret I kept, was to save what Dad built. And that makes it right? Security cameras watched us from every corner. In one of them, I caught my reflection. Power suit, perfect hair, Dad's determined expression mirrored on my face. Maybe Chiara was right. Maybe I was more like them than I wanted to admit. The board meeting starts in 20 minutes, Bryce said quietly. If you can't prove everything you did was legal, they'll vote you out. And this time I won't stop them. He walked away, leaving me alone in the hallway. My phone buzzed again, Benjamin asking what to do. But I was already moving, my mind racing through possibilities. Dad had taught me more than just business. He'd taught me survival. The phoenix rises from ashes, but first it has to burn. I pulled out my phone, dialing a number I'd hoped never to use. It's me, I said when the line connected. Remember that favor you owe me from Tokyo? I need it now. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. The boardroom doors swung open with a bang. Every head turned as I strode in 5 minutes before the vote. Ladies and gentlemen, I placed a thick folder on the table. I believe you have some concerns about Tokyo. Ms. King, the lead director frowned. We received evidence of serious misconduct. Fabricated evidence. I began distributing documents. Here's what really happened in Tokyo. Every transaction, every decision, verified by independent auditors and signed off by regulatory authorities. But the files we received, another director started, were sent by my Aunt Ciara from prison. I clicked on the projector. Here's the surveillance footage of her associate sending those files. And here, I placed a USB drive on the table, is proof that those documents were created last week using forged timestamps. Bryce picked up one of the reports, his eyes widening. These signatures, they're from the Japanese Financial Services Agency, because everything we did was legal. I met each board member's gaze. Difficult, yes. Complicated, absolutely. But legal. Then why hide it? Bryce demanded. Because sometimes protecting a company means keeping certain details private. I pulled out my phone, playing a recording. As Dad explained here, Dad's voice filled the room. The Tokyo situation is delicate. Quinn handled it perfectly. Saved the company without breaking a single law. That's why she'll take over when I'm gone. She understands that leadership isn't just about following rules. It's about knowing which rules matter most. The board members exchanged glances. Bryce's face was unreadable. There's more. I nodded to Benjamin, who opened the door. A distinguished Japanese businessman entered, bowing slightly. Mr. Tanaka. I smiled. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Ms. King. He addressed the board. 3 years ago, your company faced a crisis in Tokyo. Ms. King's actions not only saved both our companies, but strengthened the relationship between them. Everything she did was honorable and legal. And the missing files Kiara mentioned? Bryce asked. Don't exist. Tanaka handed him a document. This is the complete record, certified by our legal team. There are no missing files because there was nothing to hide. The lead director cleared his throat. Ms. King, while this explains Tokyo, there's still the matter of recent events. Your family's criminal activities? Which I exposed, I interrupted. Every illegal transaction, every manipulated record, every conspiracy. I brought it all to light. Yes, my methods were unconventional. Yes, I kept certain things quiet until the right moment. But everything I did was to protect this company and honor my father's legacy. By deceiving your own brother? Bryce stood. By letting us think. By doing what needed to be done. I slammed my hand on the table. You want to know why Dad chose me? Because I understand that sometimes protecting what matters means making impossible choices. The room fell silent. Outside, the city stretched endlessly, just as it had the night I'd found Dad's ledger. The vote, the lead director finally said, was called to determine your fitness to lead this company. Given this new evidence, I have one more thing to add. I pulled out a final document. Dad's last letter to the board, written the day before he died. Benjamin? Benjamin stepped forward. I witnessed him write this. He knew what was coming. I began to read. To my board of directors, if you're reading this, 2 things have happened. First, I'm dead, likely not from natural causes. Second, Quinn has uncovered the truth about my murder and the conspiracy within our company. She's done exactly what I knew she would. Protected our legacy while bringing justice to those who betrayed us. This is why I chose her. Not because she's my daughter, but because she has something the others don't. The wisdom to know when to fight in the light and when to work in shadows. The strength to make impossible choices. The courage to stand alone. My voice cracked on the last words. Bryce's face had softened, understanding finally dawning in his eyes. I moved to cancel the vote. The lead director said quietly, All in favor? Hands raised around the table, even Bryce's. Quinn, he said as the board members filed out. I'm sorry. I should have trusted you. No. I gathered my documents. You should have questioned me. That's what Dad taught us. Trust, but verify. I just verified better than anyone expected. What happens now? Now? I looked at the city beyond the windows, at the empire Dad had built and entrusted to me. Now we rebuild. The right way this time. No more secrets, no more shadows. Together? He held out his hand. I took it, remembering Dad's words about impossible choices. Sometimes the hardest choice is knowing when to stand alone, and when to let others stand with you. Together, I agreed. But first, there's one more thing we need to do. What's that? I smiled, thinking of Kiara in her prison cell, still believing she had leverage over me. We need to show everyone what happens when you underestimate a phoenix. The sun was rising over the city, painting the sky in shades of fire. It was time for a new day, a new chapter, and this time we'd write it in the light. Guilty on all counts. The judge's gavel echoed through the courtroom. I watched Kiara's shoulders stiffen as the verdict was read. Murder, conspiracy, fraud. The list went on. She turned to face me before they led her away, her eyes burning with the same intensity I'd seen at Dad's funeral. You think this is over? No. I stood, straightening my jacket. This is just justice. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Bryce appeared at my side, shielding me from the cameras as we made our way to the waiting car. Ms. King, how does it feel to see your aunt convicted? Any comment on the company's future? What about the rumors of a family reconciliation? I paused at the car door. King Industries isn't just about family anymore. It's about integrity, transparency, and doing what's right. That's my father's true legacy. The drive back to the office was quiet. Bryce scrolled through messages on his phone. Stock's up 12% since the verdict. People love a good redemption story. I smiled. How's Tessa doing with her fashion line launch? Better than expected. Turns out having the King Industries backing means more than Ciara's empty promises. The elevator opened directly into the executive floor, where Benjamin waited with Presley. Their faces told me something was wrong. What happened? Ibrahim. Benjamin handed me his tablet. He's talking to reporters, says he has proof you knew about the Tokyo cover-up long before you claimed. Let him talk. I walked into my office, Dad's old office. Everything's documented, remember? It's not that simple, Presley said. He's claiming there's video evidence from the night Dad died. My hand froze over Dad's old desk. That's impossible. Unless... Bryce stepped forward. Unless someone was recording that night. I met his eyes. You know what happened that night. I told you everything. Did you? He pulled out his phone, playing a video. On the screen, I saw myself entering Dad's hospital room the night he died. The timestamp showed 11:47 p.m. Where did you get this? It was in Dad's personal files, the ones you didn't know about. Bryce's voice was gentle. You were there the night he died, Quinn. Why didn't you tell us? I sank into Dad's chair, the weight of that night crushing down again. Because he asked me not to. The room fell silent. I pulled out my own phone, accessing a protected folder. Here's what really happened that night. The video played. Dad in his hospital bed, looking frail but clear-eyed. His voice was weak but determined. Quinn, listen carefully. Ciara's been poisoning me. Slowly, carefully. I have proof, but I can't move against her yet. You need to wait. Let them think they've won, then expose everything. Dad, we should call the police. No? The company wouldn't survive the immediate scandal. You need to be smart about this. Strategic. He coughed. Promise me you'll protect our legacy. The right way. I promise. The video ended. Bryce's face had gone pale. You knew. All this time, you knew how he died. And I did exactly what he asked. I stood. I waited. I gathered evidence. I protected the company while building an airtight case against them. Why show us this now? Presley asked. Because it's finally over. Really over. I walked to the window, looking out at the city Dad had conquered. Ibrahim can release whatever he wants. The truth is already out there. Ms. King? My assistant's voice came through the intercom. The new board members are here for orientation. Send them in. I turned to face my family, what was left of it. Ready to show them how we do things now? Bryce nodded, a smile tugging at his lips. The right way. The new board members filed in. Young, ambitious, ethical professionals Dad would have approved of. As I began my presentation, my phone buzzed with a message from Tessa. Just visited Ciara. She's finally talking about everything. Healing starts now. I looked around the room, at Bryce taking notes, at Benjamin's proud smile, at Presley's determined face. Dad's words echoed in my mind. Protect our legacy. The right way. The phoenix hadn't just risen from the ashes. It had built something new. Something stronger. Not an empire built on secrets and lies, but a legacy founded on truth and justice. Welcome to the new King Industries. I addressed the board. Let me tell you about our future. Outside, the city stretched endless and bright, full of possibilities. Dad had taught me how to fight in shadows, but I'd learned something he never could, how to win in the light. The truth hadn't just set us free. It had made us stronger than we'd ever been in darkness. And that was the greatest legacy of all. Now, I smiled at my family, my team, my future. Let's begin. The sun streamed through the windows, and for the first time since Dad's funeral, I felt truly worthy of the name he'd given me. Phoenix Rising. Not because I'd burned everything down, but because I'd built something better from the ashes. That was the real victory. That was the true revenge.